Hello one, hello all. It's the most bald ghost of them all, Casper in the flesh, and it's time for a review of J. Cole, Might Delete Later. J. Cole, I would say a legendary South Carolina rapper, singer, producer, and this is his latest mixtape, which came off as a surprise to me and to others, being this a surprise mixtape where a lot of controversy surrounded around the track 7 Minute Drill, which is under 7 minutes and not really that great of a track. In fact, it was so lackluster and so bad that J. Cole took it off the project, took it off all streaming platforms. But in his defense, he wanted to be the bigger man and take it off because he feels he's not that person, he's not confrontational, he loves Kendrick, apparently. And if I'm being honest, it was probably one of the worst tracks I ever heard, probably one of the worst tracks of the year, with the lines being so ham-fisted, comparing Kendrick's music to The Simpsons, which is odd, with The Simpsons being like one of the most influential shows of all time, or saying that people were comatose while listening to Kendrick's T-Pab and how his last album was tragic. It really sounds like Cole had a bunch of bars that he set aside for other artists, but due to Kendrick dissing him, he just threw it in there. It just sounds so tacked on. And it really sounded like something he didn't want to do in the first place, which is why he took it off. It was just a very low effort. And that low effort continues on here. It was definitely a poor attempt at a clapback that was a diss that was featured on the Metro Boomin and Future album, so Cole felt he had to respond, and we pretty much know where that went. But I will give Cole props again for being the bigger man here in the situation, and I do feel it was a mature thing to do, especially with rap beef being not as big as it used to be, and honestly just making your hits and keeping it moving. Now, as I stated in my Future review, I'm not really big on J. Cole's catalog. I do feel he has great ideas, but none of those ideas are constructed into a cohesive album. Like, he does have ideas where he has these themes, but none of the themes ever add up to the final conclusion in a epic cinematic way like a Kendrick album would. So he does have witty bars, he does have compelling stories, it's just massively inconsistent. And for some reason I've been getting heat for loving Sexy Red but not J. Cole, when here's the thing. Sexy Red's music is supposed to be stupid, it's supposed to be ignorant, but it's also funny at the same time. So she succeeds in that lane. When it comes to the lane Cole is trying to go for, with being conscious, being revolutionary, he does not do that here. Matter of fact, he's never really consistently done that, and also has very weak bars packed into his albums, with the exception of Off Season, which I wasn't head over heels for, but still his best album yet, but I digress. And given how much improvement he put out on that album, and how he has great artists surrounding him on his Dreamville label, such as Jid with Forever Story, fantastic album, or Ari Lennox with her great last album, and even his competition, Kendrick, dropping superior albums, otherwise Cole wouldn't have responded. You would think this is Cole's time to go Super Saiyan. But no, he doesn't even go Kaioken on this. In my opinion, I think this is actually a massive downgrade from where he first started. In fact, I feel this is a bigger downgrade from Born Sinner, which I felt was his worst album before I heard this. And it's mostly due to how Cole props himself up to be this revolutionary artist, how he claims he's the biggest, he's the best, he's so conscious, he's so game-changing. So I don't know how you're putting yourself in the big three when you sound like someone in this big three you've conjured up. Like, do you think J. Cole isn't trying to copy Drake? Not a Frosty the Snowman's balls chance in hell. And going back to the conscious aspect of this, when you put yourself on the pedestal of being conscious, the bars here are not conscious. In fact, they're immensely suspended from being conscious. Matter of fact, they're expelled from being conscious. Like on the underwhelming opener, where he's giving this weird tirade saying they could cancel him like they tried to cancel Chappelle. And unfortunately, Cole can't grasp the concept of being canceled and criticized. Especially when you prop yourself up to be this conscious rapper. Your fans prop yourself up to be this conscious rapper. But yet you're not giving pushback to someone who has spread bigotry to the trans community. Which later on, Cole spews this idiotic, gross, transphobic bar on the song Pie, with this gross, bigoted idea that trans women are pretending to be women. It's like after reading this, I'm like, damn, who the fuck wrote this for you? Tom McDonald? Cole does have some valid bars though, on how mostly white people consume the machismo rappers who try to be hard. But he's touched on this before and added more depth to it. And another thing I find questionable is how you're ripping off Drake numerous times on this mixtape, and also say the only person you listen to is Minister Farrakhan, who is immensely anti-Semitic, and with Drake being Jewish, it comes off tone deaf. And if you think I'm lying about him ripping off Drake, do a Pepsi taste test. Listen to Crocodile Tears, and then listen to Drake's Energy, and you will see that this is a poor attempt at recreating that. You could hear it in the production, you could hear it in the flow. And there's also Fever, where he's trying his hardest to remake Controlla. Now, I don't really care too much for views, but I would honestly listen to Controlla over this. At least Drake had originality when it came to the melody on that song. And of course he has to drop cringy bars like, without a chain, them boys playing like a bagel. Is this your goat? And then there's Ready 24, which sounds like I'm Ready off Wish. And if you don't know, I'm Ready is a fantastic track off a great Diplomats album, Diplomatic Immunity, where it was heartfelt, it was raw, you felt it. But this just sounds like Cole throwing on his nostalgia goggles and trying to live in that era, where he's trying to sound like Jewels, and the only good part of this track is Cameron, one of the members of Dipset. Especially when he says that bar, I needed 6 feet before the COVID hit. And the production doesn't really make for a good remake either. The horns are faint, they're weak as hell, and the ham-fisted beat is trash. And there's Huntin' Wabbits, and this is a head scratcher, where you have this Elmer Fudd snippet in the beginning, and then you have Cole sounding more comatose than ever, while we're just getting these tacked on snippets of this cartoon where this character is panicking, saying, oh, he keeps killing us, oh, what did you become? While Cole sounds more asleep at the wheel than ever. I mean, if you're implying he killed a bottle of water with Ambien, you might be right. And there's also HYB, which has the most grating, unenthusiastic hooks on this mixtape, from Bass. Hide your bitch, hide your wife. And due to the history of that phrase, I'm not sure that works in the context. Actually, I'm very sure that does not work in the context that you're trying to go for here. And then there's the bars, I'm allergic to Cap, I can't hear these dudes rap without an EpiPen. Keep in mind, this is the same guy that said meditation over medication. And there's also that cringy line where he's saying little me asking, what's an L? You've taken many, my friend. You should definitely know that by now. And there's also the underwhelming Central C verse. And we have Sticks and Stones, which is definitely the best track on here. A lot of great bars on here. Production's great, with a lot of passionate vocals, witty lyrics. But the rest of the album is very lackluster, with the odd pacing on stealth mode that sounds like it doesn't know whether it wants to begin or end. And there's 3001, where it sounds like J. Cole is rapping through a drive-through speaker. And then says the bar, he doesn't care about lying because he heard other rappers are fraud, where on HYB, you said you're allergic to capping. Well, better get that EpiPen ready. And then says how he's refraining from having relations with these women, but a lot of your bars are about chasing women, having relations with women. And you're carrying this track like people are gonna look back at it like this was a game-changing work of art, like a masterpiece. And then years later, people are gonna say, oh, this was made by the gods. And there's the closer, well, not originally the closer, and it's a real snooze fest, honestly. Which is funny to me because he talks about TPAB putting people to sleep, but this is just Sonic NyQuil right here. But yeah, this whole thing just came off as rushed, uninspired, really gross lyrics when he's trying to carry himself as conscious, and says that this is the appetizer for the fall off. And with a lack of direction, motivation, I truly and honestly hope Fall Off is better than this. I'm feeling a 1.5 out of 5 on this album, and honestly, you may hate me for that, and that's fine. But I hope you don't hate my baby. Isn't she cute? What do you think of the J. Cole album, Chili? What do you think of the J. Cole mixtape? She doesn't like it either. But that's it. Caspa, Gothic Ghost, J. Cole. Might delete later. Till we meet again.